Hi, welcome back to UCanic. I'm Gabe. I've been an ASE certified master technician for over 30 years. I want to share a little bit of what I've learned with you so we can help you fix your car. Today we're going to talk about mass airflow sensors, what they do, how they work, how to diagnose one, and what the symptoms are of a failed one. Mass airflow sensors come in different shapes and sizes, small ones, bigger ones. They all serve the same purpose. They all function the same way. Back in the day, long time ago, this metered your air and your fuel. This carburetor did that job. It metered the air really simply by opening these butterflies to let air in. As those butterflies open, more air would rush in. It would let more fuel dribble in as well. The atomization of that fuel would enter the cylinders, and that would give you your fuel mixture. And we could adjust this with some screws that would allow different fuel mixtures to happen. Pretty simple design, although carburetors are kind of complicated. It was simple and it worked for many years. Fuel injection takes all of the maintenance out of that. And now we use a number of sensors to regulate that fuel to match the amount of air that's entering the engine. So mass airflow sensors are actually really cool. The way that they work is actually quite simple, but when they fail, they can cause all kinds of problems. So this mass airflow sensor, this is from a GM product. This goes in line with the air tube, and it's held in with clamps on rubber boots, and it has a screen on one side that keeps large debris from hitting it. Also kind of straightens out the air as it's coming across. It doesn't take the place of an air filter. You still need a clean air filter, but this kind of regulates, or not regulates, but kind of smooths out that airflow as it goes across the mass airflow sensor so that it can read. Now, the way that this sensor works, this is called a hot wire sensor. So basically, the electrical connector here is going to get power from the powertrain control module or engine control module, and it's going to heat up these wires. Now, there's little wires in there. It's going to heat those wires up, and it's going to try to maintain the temperature of those wires. The more air that comes across this, the cooler that wire is going to get, which is going to change the voltage output on the other side of this sensor. So the PCM or ECM knows when the voltage starts to change, more air is coming across. Now, there's another component to that. Right now, summertime, we have some pretty extreme weather. It's been in the hundreds past couple days. So today, at 98 degrees, the temperature of that wire is going to change a lot differently than it would on a January day when it's 18 degrees outside. Well, how does the PCM know the difference? Well, right up there in that corner is a temperature sensor, and it actually senses the temperature of the air coming through this sensor. Now, the computer makes a calculation based on the air temperature and the voltage change in that wire and says, hey, it's 18 degrees out. The voltage is really not that changing that much. We're probably at idle, or however it calculates that based on its programming. Every engine has different parameters built into it based on the amount of air that it needs to stay running. A larger displacement engine is going to ingest more air. The calculation for fuel is based on the amount of air that comes across this sensor. Now, this does more than just meter the amount of fuel going into the engine. This also tells the computer what the calculated load of that engine is. In other words, if we're going up a hill and we're moderate throttle, we're climbing a hill, the engine is going to draw in more air. It's going to need more air. It's also going to need more fuel. The computer is going to say, based on throttle position, the amount of air coming across that sensor, and the exhaust gas readings from the oxygen sensors, it's going to calculate the amount of load on that engine, and it's going to change the way the transmission shifts. These are all calculations that are based on programming, the parameters that are built into the computer to know how to adjust shift timing, shift feel, whether or not it should turn the air conditioning compressor off because of demand on the engine. That's all built into the programming, and it uses this sensor to figure all that stuff out. So a lot of things rely on this. We're going to take this sensor, which is very common. This actually inserts into the tube in line, and the air actually passes over this, passes through it, and measures the same thing, the hot wire, but it actually just sits inside the tube. It doesn't actually take up a part of the tube. So I already peeled these pieces off. We're going to pull them off to the side. I'm going to show you the components of this one. So you can see here, there's your connector. There's an O-ring here that seals it. We want an accurate measurement of that air. Any leaks in that air intake system, we're going to throw off the reading here. So this needs to be an accurate reading. Right there is our temperature sensor. Okay. There's our hot film. And that's what's going to maintain that temperature. And the PCM is going to try to maintain that temperature and measure it accordingly. It's going to measure the voltage coming back. As it needs to increase the voltage to keep that wire hot, it knows more air is flowing across based on this temperature. So you can see the way this is shaped. Air comes in here, comes up, and then comes across, and then exits on the other side based on the shape of these. So air is constantly moving across this. This needs to be installed the correct way. The bolt pattern here only allows it to be installed one way. So that's usually not a concern. But what can happen when the sensor fails? Well, we touched on it a little bit. You'll get poor running. You'll have the improper air and fuel mixture. Someone very smart many, many years ago figured out that the perfect mixture of air and fuel in a gasoline engine is 14.7 to 1. 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel. That is the perfect mixture of air and fuel. Now, in order to achieve that, we have to constantly change that mixture because there's constantly different demands on the engine. This sensor, as the air passes over, tells the computer it needs more or less fuel based on airflow so that it's not too much fuel or not enough fuel. So what happens then when this sensor goes bad or gives a false reading, you may have too little fuel and you can get a lean misfire. You can get an overheating condition. You can cause some damage to things like the spark plugs. You can even burn an exhaust valve if it's, really lean. But most of the time before it gets to that point, you'll have a misfire problem, some temperature related issues, maybe even a hard start. You can also get some weird behavior from your transmission. So one thing that I have found is very common on these K&N filters or oil-soaked filters, not oil bath, but paper filters that are sprayed with an oil. What will happen is the oil, if you oversaturate the filter, the oil can actually pass through the element and stick to the wires of the mass airflow sensor and give a false reading on this. Because the oil will keep the wire hot as air is passing over, will miscalculate the engine load. And then what happens is you can wind up with a slipping transmission, soft shifts, things like that, because of an improper calculation on engine load. You can even run into a situation where you get a lean misfire or oxygen sensor codes because the engine is expecting, based on throttle position, more fuel to be entering the engine, and it's not. Oil sprayed air filters, it's not uncommon if you're oversaturating the filter to get oil contamination on your mass airflow sensor. Can you clean these? You can. It takes a special kind of cleaner. I would not use brake clean or carburetor cleaner on a mass airflow sensor. There is a very dedicated cleaner. It's called mass airflow sensor cleaner. You can spray it on. Do not agitate it. Don't manually clean it. You just spray it on, let it sit, let it dry off. It's kind of an alcohol-based cleaner, so it's not harmful to the wire. Many times when the sensors go bad, they're beyond cleaning. The sensor itself has this seal here, like we said. Any leaks in the intake system from this sensor to the throttle body of the engine, or even to the cylinders themselves, any leaks beyond this point can cause a false reading and will cause a lean exhaust code. So we see commonly on some engines with O-ringed plastic intake manifolds. Over time, the O-rings can shrink, or if the intake manifold is removed for some reason to gain access to the spark plugs or things like that, if the O-rings are reused, sometimes what we see is a lean exhaust code. The mass airflow sensor has a reading that it expects to be normal. And then on the other side, on the exhaust side, the oxygen sensor is reporting back that there's not enough fuel in the exhaust stream. So what happens is you get a leak downstream from this, this sensor is sending a signal back to the computer saying, hey, I have X amount of air flowing. So this is the amount of fuel that we need. The computer says, okay, here's the fuel that you need. The oxygen sensor says, wait a minute, I'm not seeing that on my side. We're lean. Sets the code, turns on your check engine light, and there you go. So mass airflow sensor is very, very critical. Not only the mixture, the fuel mixture, but other components or other functions as well, to calculate engine load. So normal readings for an oxygen sensor, there's an old rule of thumb based on the engine's displacement, basically to match the grams per second of the mass airflow sensor to the cc's of the engine. So if you have a 3-liter engine, you're going to have roughly 3 grams per second at idle entering the engine. Now, that's a rule of thumb. That's not absolute. You may have 2.6 grams per second. You may have 3.1. Really just depends on the compression ratio of the engine and some other factors as well, whether or not it's normally aspirated, supercharged, turbocharged, things like that. Also, some engines use intake manifold shutters, which also change that reading. So again, basic rule of thumb. It's not an absolute. If you're diagnosing a mass airflow sensor problem and you suspect a mass airflow sensor and you're looking at the parameters with your scan tool, the UCanic scan tool will tell you actual live data for this sensor. Best thing to do is check service information for your vehicle and see what the actual parameter is supposed to be. The rule of thumb is great. It'll tell you if your sensor is working, but it won't tell you if it's accurate. We talked a little bit about how they work and what they do. We know about some symptoms. Let's talk about what these cost. So diagnosis, we know, is typically 1 hour of shop labor at a dealership, around $200. Now, one of these hot film sensors that's pretty common, an OEM part is going to cost you about $150, plus the labor to put it in. Now, these are very, very simple to get to on most cars. Now, some applications actually have 2. Turbocharged applications generally have 2, one before and one after the turbocharger. But you're talking, $150 or so for the part. Most shops are going to charge you at least a half hour of labor to replace this. Some will be more, depending on how difficult it is to get on your vehicle. These older style ones, this is actually a little bit more difficult to replace on some vehicles because it's either bolted into the tubing or clamped on. There's a little bit more disassembly involved. These sensors are actually much more expensive. These sensors are about $280 for one of these, and it's not uncommon to need one of these, on some older products. For the cost of the sensor, plus an additional hour of labor at another $200 or so an hour, it can easily be, plus diagnosis, you're talking about a $600 or $700 job sometimes to diagnose and replace a mass airflow sensor. You can diagnose this with the UCanic scan tool. The UCAN Pro will help you diagnose this and replace this yourself. If the sensor costs you $180, $200, $250, and a little bit of time, you just saved yourself a little bit of money. We all like to say things were better back in the day. Things were simpler, which is true. But this is better. You get better fuel economy, more accurate fuel metering, air metering, more power and performance than you could with this old 15-pound carburetor. Simple was great. Technology is awesome. When these are working correctly, when your car is working the way that it should, with the right maintenance, the right diagnostic tools, and the right know-how, you can keep your car running great the way that it's supposed to be, keep more money in your pocket with better fuel economy, and keep your car lasting longer. I hope this video helped you. We're UCanic. You can do it. We can help.